Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Western Balkans Summit 2024. It's 2 years since we did the first of these summits, and even in those 2 years, looking around Kosovo, looking around Pristina, it's very clear how active this country has been, how busy it's been, and how far it's come in such a short time. With that in mind, I would like to offer my congratulations to everybody here. One day early, I know, but congratulations on your Independence Day tomorrow. I know that that's going to be quite the party. So today we're going to be delving into the economic and political landscape of Kosovo and the Western Balkans. We're going to be looking over the coming months and over the coming years, indeed. Economically, the outlook is cautiously optimistic, I'd say. The region is expected to grow by around 3.5% in both 2024 and 2025, ahead of both the EU and the world averages, with Kosovo on course for even higher rates than that. That's assuming that the reforms that are planned come through. And the improvement in the region's prospects reflects, in part, up to $10 billion in loans and grants assigned by the EU Recovery and Resilience Plan, with a significant portion of that already dispersed and at work. This investment is expected to shift the growth balance towards infrastructure and digitalization, key areas for the long-term development, and which we'll be discussing today. Rallies in tourism and domestic consumption are also driving growth, and without question, there's a lot of building work going on. The Economist used to run something in London called the Cranes Index, where an Economist editor would look out of the window of the tower where the Economist was based and count the number of cranes they could see on the horizon. And as that number of cranes went up and down, they would judge how active and how busy the UK economy was. Well, looking out of the hotel window today, the Kosovo Crane Index, I would suggest, is at an all-time high, and that's got to be good news for the future. However, there are clouds on the horizon. There are lingering effects from the COVID slowdown and the energy squeeze, and political instability in some Balkan countries raises concerns about consistent policy implementation, which is crucial for attracting further vital investments. Politically, the picture is more nuanced. EU accession remains a major goal for several Balkan nations, but both the commitment to reform among candidates and enthusiasm for enlargement among many current members suggest this will not be a quick process. And while the business environment shows signs of convergence with EU standards, challenges remain in areas including the rule of law and corruption. The success of EU integration efforts has profound implications for regional stability. However, persistent historical tensions and rising nationalism pose potential barriers. Fostering regional cooperation and addressing historical grievances will be crucial for progress. Looking ahead, the next couple of years in the Balkans will be a balancing act. Economic growth is projected, but political uncertainties and lingering global economic woes add complexity. EU integration will be a key determinant in the region's long-term trajectory. And by addressing internal challenges and fostering regional cooperation, the Western Balkans can set their sights on a more prosperous future. Over the course of the day, we'll be exploring the main challenges and opportunities facing the region. We'll be assisted along the way by a stellar cast of speakers and contributors, including senior government officials, international representatives, academics, and subject specialists. So let's get started with an eminent group of people who are going to officially open the conference for us. And first among them, I'm privileged and very proud to be able to welcome back to the stage of the Western Balkans Summit the Prime Minister of Kosovo, Albin Kurti. Mr. Kurti, please join us.
Your Excellency, Matteo Renzi, former Prime Minister of Italy, the Right Honourable Lord George Robertson, former Secretary General of NATO, Honourable Ministers of the Government of Kosovo, Artoniris Vanoli, Minister of Economy, Libor Naliu, Minister of Environment, Spatial Planning and Infrastructure, Rosetta Haidari, Minister of Industry, Entrepreneurship and Trade, Faton Pezzi, Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Rural Development, Elbert Krasniqi, Minister of Local Government Administration, and Nena Drasic, Minister for Communities and Returns. Dear Alasdair Ross, country's editor of The Economist, The World Ahead 2024, the conference chairperson. Dear Nektaria Pasarivakis, President and the CEO of Economist Impact Southeastern Europe Events, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, Jeffrey Hovernier, US, Tomas Shunyog, EU, Jorn Rode, Germany, Hristo Gujev, Bulgaria, Daniela Barisic, Croatia, Minca Benedejcic, Slovenia, Your Excellency, Ambassador Heleni Vakali, Head of Greek Liaison Office in Kosovo, dear Members of Parliament, Ministers of the Government, Deputy Ministers, dear representatives and directors of different institutions in Kosovo, then of international and local financial institutions, dear business community representatives in Kosovo, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, it is a distinct privilege to stand before you today on the eve of Kosovo's Liberation Day. Liberation and peace mean the same thing for our country. 12th of June 1999. This occasion is not merely a celebration of our past triumphs, but a beacon guiding us toward a future filled with promise and opportunity. Western Balkans, with its rich tapestry of history and culture, has always aspired to be at the forefront of progress, and today we are here to discuss how our region can contribute to Europe's security and cohesion. The Western Balkans is a region brimmed with potential. Our diverse cultures, resilient populations, and shared aspirations provide a solid foundation for contributing positively to Europe's security and cohesion. Despite our differences, we are united in our commitment to democracy, stability, and prosperity. We believe that through collaboration and mutual support, the Western Balkans can indeed provide an optimistic perspective for Europe. Kosovo has made significant strides in strengthening democracy and security. Our country is at the forefront of real economic growth in Western Balkans from 2023 to 2025, as reported by the World Bank, holding the top position in the Western Balkans region. It is also ranked second worldwide in improvements in the rule of law, according to the World Justice Programme, and maintains a strong standing in political rights and civil liberties, being first in Western Balkans, second in Europe, and third globally, as per the Freedom House report. Additionally, Kosovo is unmatched in the Western Balkans in terms of electoral democracy, as recognized by the VDEM Institute. Our commitment to democratic principles, human rights, and the rule of law has been unwavering. We've built robust institutions that safeguard our citizens' freedoms and ensure political inclusivity. Our partnerships with international allies, particularly NATO and the European Union, have been crucial in maintaining peace and security in our region. Our vision for Kosovo is one of regional security and prosperity. Economic development is at the heart of this vision. By investing in infrastructure, education, and technology, we aim to create a vibrant economy that benefits all citizens and leaves no one behind. Our recent economic reforms have not only attracted foreign investment, but also have stimulated local industries, paving the way for sustained growth. Regional cooperation is vital for achieving our goals. By working closely with our neighbors under the auspices and leadership of the European Union, we can address common challenges and leverage shared opportunities. Unity and collaboration are the keys to a prosperous Western Balkans. One of our greatest challenges is overcoming the historical prejudices and conflicts that have divided our region for too long. However, I am hopeful. The people of the Western Balkans have demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for reconciliation and dialogue. Communities in Kosovo are coming together to build a better future, and this spirit of cooperation will continue to thrive. Addressing economic disparities and social injustices is crucial. By promoting inclusive growth and ensuring equal access to opportunities, we can create a more just and equitable society. This is not only a moral imperative, but also a practical strategy for lasting peace. As we delve into these serious matters, let us not forget the unique charm and humor of the Western Balkans. Our relentless quest to be the best often manifests in delightful ways. Whether it's a friendly debate about who makes the best coffee or a passionate discussion about football, our spirit of rivalry is always accompanied by a sense of camaraderie. This spirit will guide us as we strive towards a brighter future. Kosovo, at the heart of the Balkans, has experienced rapid development since its independence. Our robust average annual GDP growth rate of 6.2% over the last 3 years and low inflation rate of only 2.1% in the last quarter are testaments to our economic resilience. With the youngest demographic structure in Europe and strong public finances, Kosovo is well positioned for future growth. Significant progress has been made across various sectors. Our defense budget has more than doubled. FDI and exports have doubled in the last 3 years. Agricultural exports have increased by 29%, and our cultural and sports sectors are thriving. Health and education have seen notable improvements with new essential medicines and scholarships for students in science, technology, engineering, and maths. Investments in energy infrastructure and digitalization are driving our development, and our foreign policy is strengthening us as we advance our NATO and EU membership applications. Kosovo leads the Western Balkans in economic growth, rule of law improvements, and political rights enhancements. Our recent sovereign credit rating from Fitch Ratings will further boost foreign investment, lowering borrowing costs, and improve access to global capital markets. Our government is actively planning over 50 significant infrastructure projects requiring more than 7 billion euros in investments. This includes 1.2 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity and successful initiatives like the 100 megawatt solar energy auction and the $237 million Millennium Challenge Corporation's battery storage project, largest per capita globally. Our aim is to increase renewable energy usage to 35% by 2031. We are committed to the proactive development of 3 key sectors: agriculture and food processing, manufacturing, and IT-enabled BPO services. Kosovo's competitive advantages include its strategic location, full internet broadband penetration, and a young, tech-savvy workforce, making it an attractive ICT hub in Europe. In conclusion, Kosovo and the Western Balkans have much to offer Europe in terms of security, stability, development, and prosperity. By strengthening democracy, enhancing security, and fostering economic development, we can create a region that is united and thriving. Let us embrace the challenge ahead with determination and optimism, knowing that together we can achieve great things. The relationship between Kosovo and true democracies is a shining example of what can be achieved through cooperation and shared values. As we celebrate our past and look forward to a promising future, let us continue to work hand in hand for the prosperity and well-being of our people and our nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. A good story and fascinating words. Thank you. So let's invite up our next speaker, who is the former Prime Minister of Italy, Matteo Renzi. Mr. Renzi, please join us. It's a bit of a maze to get through all the cameras, but you've made it. Good to see you. Yes, please.
Mr. Prime Minister, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for my voice after electoral campaign is normal, but I'm really honored and happy to be here with you. First of all, to congratulate with my friend, the Prime Minister, for the good results and for the great goals for this very important country. Very important, of course, for the region, but I think very important for the future of European Union. You know, the history shows how it is crucial to have peace, prosperity, and security everywhere, but particularly in this part of the world. And that time, as my friend Lord George could explain absolutely better than me, the questions about security are crucial for the future of the humanity. Nobody believed 10 years ago possible. We live in a time with the world everywhere surrounded to us, thinking about, of course, the criminal aggression of President Putin to Ukraine, thinking about Middle East tensions and troubles, thinking about what happened in every corner of the planet. But, and that is the point, it's very important also for Europe today understand the significance of the role of Balkan, and in particular as country as your country. I finish exactly with the picture about Europe, because that is my role. I think Europe is one unbelievable success of politics, because Europe 3 generations ago was a place of civil war between common people, between France and Germany, between Italy and France. Now Europe is a place of peace and prosperity, but Europe risks to lose its role. If Europe doesn't change in the next years, opening the doors to the rest of the Europe, but also at the same time changing inside its institution, if there is not a change of Europe, we risk Europe became irrelevant. Between America and China, between North and South, between the new global powers, if Europe doesn't change, Europe is over. So we have a common win-win goal. Open the door and the vision for the future, and at the same time be able to create a new model of European Union to guarantee to the new generation the possibility to be pioneer and not only hostages of the past. I believe in this project, and that is also my best wishes for you and for a beautiful country.
And our final speaker for this opening session, I'd like to welcome from my own home country, Lord George Robertson, former Secretary General of NATO.
Mr. Prime Minister, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is, of course, an enormous pleasure to be here in Pristina today on the eve of the great anniversary tomorrow, and to listen to the Prime Minister with the record of achievement, which I think 25 years ago would have been quite dazzling for all of us to contemplate. And yet, there is today an existential threat to the West, including the Western Balkans, by the unprovoked and illegal assault on Ukraine by President Putin of Russia. And that threat overshadows the whole continent of Europe, and the stakes in this confrontation are sky high for all of us. NATO will meet in just a few weeks' time for its 75th anniversary summit in Washington. And Ukraine will rightly be at the top of the agenda, inevitably top of the agenda. But so too will be the situation in the Western Balkans. 25 years ago, I remember very well, the transatlantic community was just recovering from the horrific violence of the implosion of Yugoslavia and the war in Bosnia. Then it was obliged to take action again in 1999 as the forces and the paramilitaries of Slobodan Milosevic attempted the ethnic cleansing of Kosovo. At that time, when I was Minister of Defence of the United Kingdom, we made our aim crystal clear. The forces, the military forces of Milosevic out, NATO in, and refugees home. We achieved all three of our objectives. After 78 days of military action and intense diplomatic activity, this country was liberated and its future as an independent, multi-ethnic state was assured. And it's hugely important to note that the involvement of the international community in that liberation has been a significant basis for the political stability on which the economic prosperity of this country and others can be built. But the Washington summit will also have to face the fact that as attention is focused on what Russia is doing in Ukraine, it will also have to look at what Russia is doing in the Western Balkans as well. Misinformation, election meddling, destabilizing, economic disruption. These are all the tools of the Russian Foreign Ministry and their agencies. Intelligence agencies and organizations are telling us that perhaps because these agencies are so incompetent, Russia is contracting out its assassinations, its sabotage, and its election interference to organized criminal gangs. All of this will focus the attention of ministers in Washington. And mostly they will be reminded about what my generation had to do in the latter part of the 20th century in this region, and they will not want a rerun of that tragedy. NATO believed that when it successfully intervened in the region, that it had provided the essential stability for a secure economic future. But it left the rest of the story to the people of the region themselves. The future of this region is in the hands of the people themselves and those that they elect to represent them. There is so much that is attractive about this region. The tenacity and the bravery of the people has been tested and is proven. There are low-cost but yet able and talented workers. The region is at the heart of a market of 20 million people. There is promise in this region and for its people. And the region can and should diversify, as the Prime Minister has said, into information technology, into renewable energy and tourism. It needs to make further investment in education and to listen to the business community, which is already here, and those that it wants to attract from outside as well. Collaboration on labour mobility is crucially important. Borders are out of date. Just look at what the single market did for the European Union itself. And the stability of national institutions is crucial. The rule of law, anti-corruption laws and action, and transparency of processes are all crucially important. I tell a story, which I tell to you today, of when the first post-Milosevic Minister of Foreign Affairs came to NATO headquarters, Goran Svilanovic. And he said at the press conference at the end of his visit, he said, "Can I say to you members of the press, can you imagine how prosperous the Balkans would be today if we politicians had the same degree of interethnic cooperation as the criminals?" And I leave that thought with you as well. This region faces another existential challenge: the migration of the young, the best and the brightest now working in London and Berlin and New York. The drain of people, and especially the young and the talented, will leave any nation denuded of its future seed corn, and it has to be addressed. Overcoming the kind of challenges and horrors inflicted on Kosovo show what the spirit of cooperation, tolerance, and compromise can achieve. It can do so again in the future for the sake of the next generation. Thank you for your attention.
Those were three excellent speeches. We ranged a long way. We talked about an awful lot of things. We've got about 15 minutes for some questions, so let's try and keep the answers short, and then I've got half a chance of getting through about a quarter of the questions that I've got written down here. I want to start with you, Prime Minister, before we sort of range more broadly across the region and the world. I want to come to something very specifically Kosovan, but that connects into everything else. There's simmering disquiet in the northern majority Serb areas of your country. You've rejected European proposals for a Serb municipal association. If that isn't the solution, what is?
Kosovo is a democratic republic with modern, advanced minority rights. Serbs in Kosovo, according to Ahtisaari's settlement for our status, enshrined in our constitution, have 10 reserved seats in our parliament. Serbian language is official language all over Kosovo at every level of administration. 10 out of 38 municipalities are with Serb majority. And 17% of overall local assembly members all over municipalities of our republic are Serbs. We cooperate well. I have Minister Nenad Rašić for Communities and Return. I have 3 deputy ministers in my government, and we want integration of Serbs. Yes, Albanians are almost 93% of the population, but we have 4% Serbs, and we have other minorities that we want to respect, namely Bosniak, Turks, then Ashkali, Roma, and Egyptian, and Gorani, and a bit of Montenegrins and Croats. So we want to cooperate well with all, and we want to create a citizens-based democratic republic, not ethnically divided. I don't think there is an ethnic division in Kosovo. There is language barrier. In order to bridge this language barrier, in Balkanese Department of Philological Faculty of Pristina's University, we are increasing capacities so people can learn more Bosniak, Croat, and Serbian languages. We need youth to cooperate. We need business women and men to cooperate. We need more investment in the economy. And I think that with European and Euro-Atlantic orientation, integration is guaranteed. The problems we have are not with Serbs at all. The problems we have are with Belgrade, which did not distance itself neither from Milosevic of the past or from Putin in the present. So this is the problem we have, is with our northern neighbor, again, not as people, but as government, as regime, and not at all with Serbs in Kosovo, who in the northern municipalities are being integrated. We have 3 women deputy mayors with whom we work closely in the 4 northern municipalities, and we are legalizing driver's licenses. We've done already with car plates. We are doing the verification of diplomas because university there is illegal, but we don't want to exclude people. In spite of being illegal, we find ways to accept people in our labor market, but also in our state institutions. So all these diplomas from Northern University are being verified and rendered operational, functional for Republic of Kosovo. There is more cooperation going, and I'm very hopeful for the future.
Mr. Renzi, I'd like to come to you next. You said something fascinating in your speech there. You used the phrase, if Europe doesn't change, Europe is over. That's quite a dramatic phrase. Maybe you'd like to fill it out a bit. What change are you looking for, and what are the prospects of that change materializing?
I believe Europe today is too much focused on the past. And the world out of Europe is very fast, is very young, is very big. In the past, Europe considered Europeans the center of the world. Today, the globe is different. There is not Europe in the middle, at the center. It's in our mind, but not in the life. For demographic reasons, we are less than 500 million, and India is 1.6, China is 1.5. A lot of new African countries will grow in the next years in an unbelievable way. Demographic reason. Second, institutional reason. We are an institution with 27 countries. So it's impossible to manage a very competitive institution with a bureaucratic system as the European system. So we need, I'm a dreamer, I know, processes in direction of United States of Europe, because there is not alternative to this change for Europeans, guys. That is particularly true after our friends of UK decided to leave in 2016. I remember I was Prime Minister in the time. That was a shock for everyone. And from this shock, you have two alternatives. The first is maintain your approach very freeze and paralyzed. The second is try to move on and try to change. If the question is what type of reforms, I believe in the very important reform first, the end of veto's power. Today in Europe, 27 countries, if one country is not happy for one decision, could block everyone. Okay, I'm Italian, I'm Florentine, we are very able to discuss divide and litigious, but thinking if it's possible also for not Florentine and not for Italian to manage an institution with 27 people who could block in every moment for internal reasons, for ideological reasons. So veto's power have to be stopped. I believe we have to change Commission of European Union because with the 27 commissioners is too much, too bureaucratic. And third, probably the most important, to give a vision for the next decades because I think for our generation for the next generation, not our generation, the risk is to have a lot of European guys who will leave Europe to continue to follow the dreams in America and in China. That change could open a new strategy for the people out of Europe. Then there is the last point, but that is better for the former Secretary General of NATO, how Europe could create a more common defense in the good relation and partnership with NATO, but also as Europe. Because in the past, General de Gaulle, 1954, decided to block the idea of a European army. The question today, particularly if President Trump will win elections, will be what type of common defense will be in Europe. I believe in the NATO alliance. I'm very Atlantic and a supporter of Atlantic friendship. But at the same time, my question is what type of new defense as Europeans we have. That is the reasons of the change in Europe. And I think today we need a leader and not only followers because we have too much bureaucratic approach in Brussels and to less politics. I believe in politics. I know I'm strange, but I believe politics is the only hope for the future of the world and not the populism and the demagogy.
Great. Let me move along. Let me move along to you, Lord Robertson. I mean, all of these questions are questions that all three of you would have views on and could answer, but I want to start with this one with you. Vladimir Putin is engaging in grey zone warfare across the board against NATO, against Europe, and very noticeably in this region. How effective is that? I mean, it can run from fairly negligible things to some very, very serious threats. How effective is it, and what's the best way of countering it, do you think?
I think it's a real live danger. I don't personally believe that there is a prospect of Russian tanks crossing the borders of Estonia or Poland. I think that I'm the first person in NATO's history to invoke Article 5, the self-defense clause, and I may be the only person ever to do it. I think that Russia and its allies in Iran and China and North Korea may use different techniques of weakening our societies. And in many ways we're seeing in the Western Balkans what that means. And cyber warfare, election interference, organized crime, all of these things are now going on. And they're weakening our democratic institutions all of the time. And we need to waken up to the fact that if Vladimir Putin wins in Ukraine, then we can expect to see much more of that taking place. You know, last weekend in London, there was a cyber attack on the blood transfusion service in the London area, which created a major crisis in the health service in London. And the intelligence agencies tell us that it was down to Russian criminal gangs. Now, the Russian criminal gangs don't operate independently, and some of them are now being used as proxies. So we need to get ready and be prepared as societies in general to take on that kind of grey warfare that Russia now is committing so many resources to. And we see it in the Western Balkans, and we see it, you know, quite loud, and they're quite proud about it. But, you know, we need to be conscious that the danger from Russia and its allies is not just military. It involves something much deeper and much more sinister, and in many ways much more effective.
Yeah, and presumably you'd agree, that doesn't sound like a question, does it? But presumably you'd agree that to a great extent these are domestic affairs as well as international. So, you know, where Putin has his allies within our societies, this is an issue that needs to be addressed as well at the national level.
We need to be very resilient as individual countries, and we need to be conscious about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and we need to call them out. You know, if Russia today, their television channel or Sputnik radio, which are instruments of the Russian state, are freely available to our populations, then we need to identify them and make it clear that their activities are unacceptable. You know, that is the only way in which we will maintain our democratic systems and the freedom of our institutions. The Ukrainians are fighting for Western values, for the values that we take for granted, and we should not take them too easily for granted.
Okay, I'm very aware of the time, but I want to finish with one very quick question for you, Prime Minister, and a very quick answer. It's been mentioned that, and it's extremely noticeable when you walk around Pristina, that you have the benefit of a very youthful population, but you have a brain drain as well. You have a lot of your young people are going abroad. That can be an advantage because at some point they may come back and bring with them skills that they've learned outside the country. But how important is it for you as an administration to stem that tide of young people, and what are you doing about it? Briefly, please.
First, we're trying to link labor market with professional education. The famous German model of Ausbildung, where students and pupils spend a couple of days in schools learning theory of what they're going to practice in apprenticeship or in different factories, and in this way provide non-academic professionalism, so to speak. Second thing is that we're growing our own economy, so the average salary in private sector is increasing and people don't have to leave. Those who go to study in Sorbonne or Heidelberg, we wish them luck and we want to support them and have one day replace previous brain drain with brain gain by having them return home. I'm very optimistic that more people from diaspora will continue to come back, opening a branch of their business or doing a sabbatical year in Kosovo, or as they retire, coming back. Miscalculation of Milosevic 25 years ago was that once they're going to expel over 1 million Albanians from their homes, vast majority of them from our country, they will never come back. But 90% of them in 2 months all came back, even though 120,000 houses have been burned down or destroyed. So we have large diaspora which is homesick. 27 direct flights Pristina, Switzerland in summer months of July and August. So sometimes I suspect that they left in order to come back, so they could come back. And I'm very hopeful for this. But if I may, just a couple of sentences on EU. I really believe that EU should strengthen and deepen its unity against Russian invasion of Ukraine and against Russian fascism. Our grandmothers and grandfathers had different types of fascism in their lives. Young generation of today, they have to face in our continent Russian fascism. And EU should strengthen its unity and deepen it against Russian fascism. This is crucial for European Union. And there is this triple challenge that we have to solve: social inequality, climate change, and security threats. And I believe that European continental welfare state model is something which is a great tradition of this continent that should be cherished. So Europe has such a richness in culture, tradition, history of ideas, and young generations have a lot of resources to build new continent for 21st century, which will be secure and prosperous. You know perhaps this thesis that why Bolshevik Revolution happened, because Russians missed Italian Renaissance, German Reformation, and French Revolution. So there is so much richness in Europe that has to be resurrected, so to speak, and in this way to throw away the current pessimism and skepticism that prevails and plays in the hands of right-wing extremist parties.
Excellent. Well, I got through about 5% of my questions, so I'm fairly pleased with that. But we have run out of time, so please join me in giving profound thanks to three superb speakers. Thank you very much.